say cheese.
Cheese.
Hey Arlo, what are you about to fly on?
Fly airplane.
Hello my loves and welcome back to my channel. This vlog is coming out way later than I thought it would, but that's okay. I'm so grateful that you are here in another travel vlog where we went and visited my dad in Fort Myers. This was back in January and we went there to escape the cold winters here in the Midwest, but it was funny, I guess not necessarily in the moment, but funny looking back because they had some of the coldest weather in Florida while we were there. We still had a great time, we still made the most of it, and I'm here to share some clips from that trip. So before we got on our plane, of course, we stopped in the lounge at the St. Louis airport. It's not the best lounge, but hey, they have free food and drinks and snacks, so we're here for it, and we love airport lounges. And then we got on our flight to Fort Myers. Arlo did so well on both plane rides. We did break out the tablet, but we also brought one of those busy boards, which I felt like he was pretty into, not the whole time, but it did keep him busy for a while. Between the tablet and just entertaining himself and having a whole row to ourselves, let's be honest, that is a game changer. He did so well on both flights and it was definitely a success. I call him my little traveler all the time, which makes my heart and soul very happy that he loves to travel just as much as we do. Now, I was super grateful the first morning to get in a workout at the little gym in my dad's complex. He lives in a townhouse in a gated community, and this was so good for my mind, body, and soul. I honestly haven't been in a gym setting since we left Phoenix. I just work out at home now, so it felt so good, so aligning to be back in a gym with actual equipment and heavy weights. So this was a great way to start our trip. Here's a little tour of the outside area by the gym. There's a pool that you can use and a hot tub. It was a little too cold for that, unfortunately, but we did spend the morning walking around the neighborhood and we went to the little playground so Arlo could play. We still made the most of it. The sun came out a little bit, which I was very grateful for, and I just love these little signs that say "Do not feed the alligators." That is just so Florida to me. That night we drove to Naples, which is just about 30 or 45 minutes away. I can't remember. It's not too far to go and have dinner. Naples is a beautiful area and definitely on the more ritzy side. I would love to spend more time here walking up and down this main street and just checking out the local businesses. We did go to the beach, so this was our first beach sighting since being in Florida, and it was so cold, but still beautiful. So I had to go out and at least see it for myself, feel that ocean breeze, even though I was shivering. We ended up driving around afterwards looking at the big houses. You know, that's one of my favorite activities to do. I gave it a new name. It's called a sip and snoop, so it's even better if you have a little drink to sip on, like a coffee or a smoothie, and look at people's houses. That is just an aligning activity for me. Then we went and got sushi at a restaurant. I will put the name of it up on the screen. It was delicious, and then just walked around a little bit to a few shops before we headed back home. The next day we went to a Great Wolf Lodge back in Naples, so we drove back down to Naples. Arlo loved this. He may have been a little for some of the things, but most of it he could do, like this tree house situation where you got to climb up and climb through all the different things. I was so impressed with how brave he was, because we were pretty high up and he had no problems climbing through all by himself. Then afterwards we went to the water park part of Great Wolf Lodge. You could honestly stay here all weekend. Obviously they have a hotel, so you can stay there all weekend. I know they have them all over the country, so I think we will be going back to one. My inner child was loving going down all the water slides. We had my dad watch Arlo for a bit so Steven and I could go down some double water slides, and it was so much fun. I didn't catch the rest that day because we were so exhausted after the water park, but the next day we went to the Slough, which is like a nature preserve. We've been here before. They have a really great walking path where you can walk through the marshes of Florida and just see what Florida looks like in its natural state. I personally love being in nature, even though this was the dead of winter, and you can see that here, even in Florida. It was still so nourishing for the soul to walk around here. It felt warm for the first time since we've gotten to Florida. The sun had come out a little bit, and this was just a really fun activity to do with Arlo and my dad. Afterwards, we went to a really cool park where they have a mini train that goes around a lake and has like a miniature setup of Fort Myers. Arlo loved it, and honestly, even I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. I thought it was adorable and a really good activity to do with the little children. I don't know how old they have to be to go on this, but I just held Arlo on my lap, and it was really fun to just kind of take your time going around this lake and see all the miniature versions of the popular spots around this area in Florida. Afterwards, we stopped at Dixie Fish Co. for lunch. I got fish tacos and some of the best key lime pie I've ever had. It was so good, and I was starving after our adventures all morning, so this really hit the spot. Then afterwards, we just drove around Fort Myers Beach. If you didn't know, Fort Myers Beach was hit by a hurricane a few years ago, and it pretty much devastated the beach area. I hadn't been back since I was in college. It had been a long time since I've been to Fort Myers, so it was really interesting to see how much this area has changed. They're obviously still recovering from it a bit, but a lot of areas have been rebuilt, and it's just interesting to see how different it is. And my heart goes out to all the people affected by this hurricane because it was truly devastating for this area. This night, my dad offered to watch Arlo, which was super nice of him, so Steven and I could go out for a little dinner date. So we went to downtown Fort Myers, walked around the shops a little bit. Of course, I stopped in a crystal shop and looked at the crystals and tarot cards, and then ate at Ford's Garage. The food was so good. This is probably one of my favorite burgers I've ever gotten. On our last day here, we finally went to the beach, which was perfect that we saved it for this day because it was the best day that we had in Florida so far. It was 60 degrees, sunny. I think it even got up to 70 at one point, which just felt like a heat wave from the weather we had been experiencing. And Arlo loved playing in the sand, loved dipping his feet in the water. He's been to the beach a few times, but it has been a while, so I don't know if he remembers going to the beach when he was a baby. I'm just very grateful that I get to visit this place, that my dad lives here most of the year, so we can easily go and visit him. Like I said before, I hadn't been here since I moved to Arizona. It was right before I moved to Arizona when I last was in Fort Myers, so it was just interesting reflecting on who I was last time I was there before my Arizona adventure and who I am now, and that's just a way that Lindsay thinks a lot. I am a deep thinker. I love reflecting on how I've evolved and changed over the years. So thank you so much for joining me in today's vlog. Subscribe if you're new here. I have such a hodgepodge of videos, from travel to vlogs to talk videos to everything in between, but it all relates back to living an aligning, fulfilling, and present life. I'm sending you all so much love, and I will see you in the next video.